Hello everyone, Dr. Christina Cantu here, Doctor of Naturopathic Medicine, and you are watching Natural Talk TV. This is the place to be if you want to create a life that is happy and healthy naturally. Now, today we're going to talk about the flu again, but this is going to be a very different kind of a video. We already talked about how to boost your immunity naturally with some great stuff you can do and some great stuff you can take. And I told you my story of how I got over the flu in 24 hours. Now we're going to be talking about what exact remedies you can take or give to you and your family if you get the flu, how to know which one is the right one, and how often to take it. I'm really excited to be sharing this with you today, guys, because this is it. This is what people pay me money for, what they come to me for, and you're getting it absolutely free. You know, I've been able to see how powerful natural medicine can be for helping people get better and feel stronger. Whether it's with homeopathic remedies, or herbs, or supplements, or diet, it's incredibly effective at helping people feel better. But in my experience, nothing has ever worked as effectively, as consistently, and as quickly as homeopathy. It is simply amazing what it can do, and because it has been so helpful for so many of my clients, and for me personally and my family, I thought I'd share it here with you all today so that you can use it for you and your families. So I've been seeing my own clients and inside some of my Facebook groups about how prevalent the flu is this season. And so many people have been sick with it and so many are scared. And if you've been watching the news, you're extra scared. Just this week, the CDC reported 30 deaths so far this season. And we can go back and forth all day about if that statistic is accurate or high or low or doctored. But the point is, it's frightening to hear about people dying from the flu. Nobody wants to hear that, especially for parents. I hear it every day. And when there are whole school districts closing down because of the flu, the way there are here in my state, in Texas, it's enough to make any parent worry, anybody worry, even if you're not a parent. But there's so much you can do to help you and your family avoid the flu or get over it quickly. I don't want you to be scared. That's what we're going to talk about here today. Your toolbox to deal with this is about to get a whole lot bigger. So let's get right into it. First, we have to start off with what is the flu? So many people ask me, what is the difference between a cold and a flu? So, the common cold is an upper respiratory viral infection that affects the nasal passages and the throat. The flu is also a viral infection, looks extremely similar, almost mirror-like, but it's much more severe than a cold. You'll have chills, a fever, a headache, body aches and pains, sometimes some nausea and some vomiting depending on what strain you have, but in general, if you have a fever, you've got the flu. No matter the cause, though, the homeopathic medicine that most closely matches your symptoms can shorten the duration of what you're going through and can prevent some serious consequences from happening. So that's neat, right? Everyone always says, well, what is this? This homeopathic medicine, what is homeopathy? So homeopathy is a natural system of healing that works with the body to relieve your symptoms, to restore itself to normal, and to improve overall health. And so that's nice, right? That's a nice little definition, but why should you use it, right? Not only can the right remedy relieve symptoms, it can stop a cold or flu or whatever you're going through altogether. And it can also promote early recovery from the illness that you're going through. Now, in homeopathic medicine, we use very small doses of what we call natural substances. They could be plants, it could be various elements, and they're very, very small doses. Now, because they're so small, they're very gentle, they're very safe for pregnant women, nursing women, infants, children, adults. I've given them to newborns right out of the womb, extremely safe with excellent results. They're also very affordable. Usually one little tube, one of the little blue tubes that you probably see in your local grocery store could be $8, maybe $9. If you have access to a purple or a pink tube, I'm not sure if it's purple or pink. Most people say it's purple. Some people say it's pink. I guess it depends on the color that you see. But usually that might be $11, maybe $12. It's really not very expensive. I can't see anyone spending more than maybe $17, $18 for a remedy, and that might be a really, really high potency. But in general, they're very affordable. And an extra bonus is that there are no interactions between conventional medications and homeopathic remedies that we know about. Nothing has been reported, and that's a big question for a lot of people because a lot of people are on medications, whether it's acutely for a cold or a flu or for something else, and they don't want it to interfere. And that's a really good question because so many people are on them, but there are no interactions, so that's nothing that you have to worry about. And there is some really good research behind homeopathy and using it for the flu. In 1918, the Spanish flu pandemic that swept the world killed an estimated 40 million people, and in some primitive cultures, the death rate was 100%. Astonishing. And in America, however, things looked a little better. Of 24,000 flu cases that were treated with conventional medicine, the death rate was 28.2%. But of 26,000 cases that used homeopathy, the death rate was only 1.05%. 28.2% versus 1.05%. Pretty amazing when you consider that this particular flu was considered worse than the bubonic plague at that time. So now that we know what homeopathy and homeopathic remedies are, let's dive right into the actual remedies that are the most useful for the flu. We're going to start off with what I call the almost flu remedies. There are 3 of these, and these are used for when you start to feel a cold coming on. You know, when you wake up and don't feel quite right, maybe a headache, maybe a funny feeling in your throat, some running or some sneezing, real slight, and maybe even feel a little warm. This is when you need these. So, the first almost flu remedy is called aconite. It's taken at the very first sign of a cold, and it's usually only useful at this stage. Once you have more advanced symptoms develop, it's not going to be as useful, but this is usually taken right at the first sign. And this is what someone that needs aconite is going to look like. They're going to have a lot of sneezing. They're going to have a burning throat. They're going to be really thirsty for cold drinks, usually cold drinks, a lot of it too. And they're going to be really, really restless at night. They're also going to be a little bit fearful and a little bit anxious. And so this is what it looks like whenever they come to see me. They always look like they've almost been hit by a truck, and they go, I just don't feel right. It burns, and I'm a little thirsty, and I'm okay. I'm a lot thirsty. After their spouse, corrects them, and then they'll say, and I'm just, I don't know. I'm just worried. I mean, is everything gonna be okay at work? I mean, am I gonna get over this? Are my kids gonna get this? When I'm supposed to be feeling better at night, I'm up, and I feel so I can't sit still. Whenever you hear something like that, you know that they need aconite. So aconite, right at the first sign of something like this or a cold, is usually going to do the trick very, very well. So the almost flu remedy number 2 is called ferrum phosphoricum. Now, this is going to be most useful in the early stages of an infection when the cold has just a slight fever. Now, we don't have any more information about when to use this remedy, sadly, because there simply isn't enough research or data to tell us what some other guiding symptoms might be. But in general, if aconite doesn't work, this is usually the second one, the one to move on to next, if the cold or the flu has not fully developed yet. So that's number 2, ferrum phosphoricum. Almost flu remedy number 3 is oscillococcinum. Now, this is the one that almost everyone who has walked down the natural medicine aisle of their grocery store is familiar with. It is the number 1 over-the-counter remedy sold in France during cold and flu season, conventional or natural, by the way, and it is widely used throughout Europe. And it's most effective if given within 48 hours of feeling flu-like symptoms. The French are big fans of it for good reason, and you don't have to go to France to get it. Just go to your local natural grocer. They'll probably have it, and if not, go to Amazon. And I'm sure they'll have it there. So that's number 3. So oscillococcinum, ferrum phosphoricum, and aconite. Those are the 3 almost flu remedies. So what if you're trying to avoid the flu, though? What if you're, not quite at the beginning stages of it? What if you don't want to catch it at all and you're trying to avoid the flu? This next one is what I call prevent the flu remedy. So it's called influenzinum. This one is known as the cold and flu tablet. Many people all over the world have avoided the flu with this, and it's made from the combined strains of influenza since 1918, all of the major influenzas anyway. And an added bonus is that no ill effects from it have ever been reported, and the rate of protection is extremely high. And this one also has some really good research behind it as well. The French Society of Homeopaths conducted a survey of 23 doctors that involved 453 patients over a 10-year period concerning their use of influenzinum as a flu preventative. The results were that in about 90% of the cases, no instances of the flu occurred when influenzinum was used preventatively, no matter what the dosage protocol was used. Now, I think most of us, I'm not actually sure what most of us would say. I know that I would tell you to take it once a week during cold and flu season, because that's usually what I do. But I've also seen it work really well taken once a month. I've seen it work once a year. And so it sounds fantastical, but it does happen. And so it's right there in the study. No matter what the dosage protocol was, it was very effective for 90% of the cases when it was used preventatively. So, and again, as an added bonus, no ill effects from it have ever been reported. So that's influenzinum. That is what I call the prevent flu remedy. But what do you do if you already have the flu? Okay, you weren't able to prevent it. Now you have it, but it's already gone, beyond that beginning stage. What do you do? This is the meat and potatoes. So let's start with it. The first remedy that you're going to use if you look like this, is going to be arsenicum album. This one's very, very useful for the flu. So someone that needs arsenicum album is going to look like this. They're going to be restless, they're going to be aching, and they're going to be irritable, and they're going to be anxious. They have this runny nose that irritates their right up here, their upper lip and their nose right here. And they have burning pains. This one is really important for arsenicum album. Burning pains that are relieved by heat. So for example, they could have a burning throat right here, and it's only relieved by really hot drinks. That's kind of strange, right? Because someone might want something cool if they have a burning throat, but this one is specifically relieved by hot drinks. Or they might have a burning head, like a burning headache, and all they want is just a hot compress right around their head because it's the only thing that'll make them feel better. And they also feel a lot worse late at night. And so if you see them feel a lot worse late at night, we're talking like past midnight, and they have these burning pains. That one's really important. Burning pains relieved by heat, and they're really, really irritable and they're anxious. You know that you need arsenicum album. That's remedy number 1 for the flu. Remedy number 2 is called belladonna. This one is unmistakable. You cannot miss it, especially once you know what it looks like. And this is what it looks like. Somebody that needs belladonna is going to have a red, flushed face. They're going to feel real hot, and they're going to have dry skin. Their fever comes on quickly, and this one is the one that actually makes most parents call me, in the middle of the night because they're just very, very worried about their children. And usually they're very restless. They're very sensitive to light. The children usually have very strange behaviors that they didn't have before. They could kick or hit or bite, and the parents are just, beside themselves. They're not sure why they're acting that way. Usually it's because they need belladonna. And they have a sore throat. Someone with belladonna will have a sore throat that is worse on the right side. It could be the whole throat, but if you have them open their mouth, Mom, you don't have to be a doctor to do this. Just open their mouth and look inside. When the throat is bright red, we're talking fiery red, usually that's a sign that you need belladonna. If they have a cough, it is a dry, short, tickling cough, and usually it's a lot worse at night. That's the one, again, that most parents will call me for, because the cough just all of a sudden got just so much worse at night. And so you need belladonna if you have the red face, the red throat, the fever that came on real quickly, the high fever too. And if it's a child, somebody that's just not acting, right the way they used to, and this short, tickling, dry cough, that's when you need belladonna. So that's remedy number 2. Then the next remedy is called bryonia. Bryonia is also very hard to miss. Bryonia is irritable. This person is irritable. They don't want you around. They want to be left alone. And they want to lie perfectly still, because if they don't lie still, it hurts. They feel worse with the slightest movement or in a warm room. So if they have a headache, they can't move because their head is just gonna burst wide open. And they can't move here because if they do, their chest is gonna burst wide open. If they have a cough, it's usually a real painful, a dry cough, and it just hurts so much right here, so much so that they feel like they're gonna explode right here, or it's gonna cause head pain. This cough is gonna cause this head pain that makes them feel like their head's just gonna explode. That's what they always say. My head, doc, it feels like it's gonna burst. And they're also very thirsty for lots of cold water. So you need this one. If they're irritable, they're mad, they don't want you there, and they're thirsty and they can't move and they have this real painful cough, that's bryonia. Well, the next one is called eupatorium perfoliatum. This one is unmistakable as well. Eupatorium is going to have this deep ache in the bones. They always come to me and say, Doc, I just feel like I'm going to break. I can't move because it hurts so much. It aches so much. My bones, right down to my bones. That's what they say. Their head pain is so severe that even their eyeballs are sore. They don't even have to move them like this in order for them to feel pain. They just feel pain, just even with their eyes closed, just right there. Their eyeballs are even sore. They have a lot of sneezing with a very, very runny nose, and they have this cough. This is the most concerning part for them, for parents, whenever they see their children going through this. They have this cough that just racks the body, this hacking, shaking cough that lasts a very long time. They're also unable to just exert the least amount of effort because they're totally wiped out. They've been coughing and they've been sneezing, and then they have this ache that's really deep, and so they can't move. They're just like this, usually on the couch, and it's just very concerning for parents. And they're usually also very thirsty, and they're very, very chilly. Sometimes some people are very warm. These people are not. They're very, very chilly. So you'll know you need eupatorium if you have that deep ache, that really dry, hacking, shaking cough, if they totally wiped out, and if they're very thirsty and chilly. So that's eupatorium. The next one is called euphrasia. Euphrasia is sometimes missed because it's sort of it could be a little bit less severe than some of the other flus, some of the other flu remedies we've already gone over. And this one has a very runny nose and eyes. And usually the eyes, they burn and they feel sore. If you don't have burning or sore eyes, I wouldn't think of this one. But euphrasia probably has to have the eyes that are burning and they feel so sore. They also feel worse late at night. And they also feel worse lying down, which is unusual because usually people feel so much better whenever they're, lying down. And the cough is also a lot worse during the day, but a lot better when lying down, which again is weird because usually people are, the cough acts up at night. And so if you have a cough that is worse during the day and they're better when lying down, and then they feel worse, lying down, and they have that runny nose, and they're also running eyes that makes that burn and that feel sore, you need euphrasia. That one is one that most people miss. And this one is the one that almost everybody in San Antonio has needed so far. This one is called gelsemium, and this one's also unmistakable to miss. You can't miss it. Usually gelsemium looks like this. They can't move. Not like bryonia because it hurts. They just can't move because it's too much of an effort. They're tired. They're sluggish. They're aching. They have a fever. They're also usually very chilly, and they have chills that run up and down their spine. They always say that. Yeah, I just feel like the cold is running up and down my spine, and they have this real heavy feeling, so heavy that they feel like they can't move. Their arms, their legs, their eyes, their head, everything. They just feel so heavy. That's right there. That's when you know you need gelsemium. They have the frequent sneezing with the runny nose as well. Very frequent. Very, very frequent. And usually, it doesn't always have to happen this way, but usually if you have some warm, moist weather change move in, and all of this starts to happen, that's when you know you need gelsemium. Here in San Antonio, we've had a few warm, moist weather changes, and so because we've had so many, I think in the last 2 weeks alone, we've had maybe 5 of those. It really takes a toll on some people. And so, that if you have that combined with the heaviness and the sluggishness and, the dull head pain and the aching fever, that's when you need gelsemium. So the next one is Hepar sulfuris. We call this one Hepar sul for short. This one is also unmistakable because what they say about their throat is actually kind of funny sometimes. They say, there's something right there, doc. There's just something and it's sticking me, and I feel like it's stabbing me. It's right there at the back of my throat. I feel it, and it just doesn't come out. And if they have a cough, usually it's again probably the second most concerning one for parents that I've seen, just because it's rattling. They have this rattling cough right here, and the parents tell me, I hear it right here. I hear all the mucus right here. And if they do cough up some mucus, it's usually really thick and really yellow. Their ears can also be involved, can be really, really painful. They're usually running, and if they are running, it's also yellow. It's also really thick as well. Almost creamy, not quite, but it's very yellow, it's very thick. They're also very sensitive to drafts. They're very chilly, and they don't like even the least little bit of wind to hit them, not at all. And they're usually wrapped up. And they're also very sweaty. Usually their sweat can also smell a little bit sour. This one is unmistakable because when you smell that sour sweat and they're chilly and they're running and they're coughing up this yellow mucus, that's when you know you need Hepar sulf. So that's that one. The next one is called mercurius. Mercurius is probably one of the most concerning ones, the most concerning pictures you'll probably see of the flu. I mean, any one of them can look serious, but this one looks really serious. This one is when they have this real frequent sneezing with these raw, painful nostrils. They hurt right here because they've been sneezing and blowing so much. They have a runny nose that when they're running, it's just thick and yellow and green, and it's just coming out. It's real watery and real profuse as well. Just a lot of runny, a lot of discharge from the nose. It irritates them right here. They're going to say it hurts just right here, only because they've been running so much. It also hurts them to swallow so much so that they just won't, they'll stop eating, they'll stop drinking because it hurts that much. They also have this really offensive odor to their body, and they're very, very sweaty. And they also have bad breath. It kind of correlates with the body odor. Almost smells exactly the same. It just depends on the person. And they have a chilly sensation. They're not warm at all. They're usually very chilly. So you'll know you need mercurius if you see them chilly with a very offensive odor. They're very sweaty, and the hurting to swallow, and the runny nose that's thick and green. That's when you know you need mercurius. So we're almost done. The next one is called nux vomica. Nux vomica is one of my favorites. This one is unmistakable. They are irritable, almost like bryonia. I want to say more. It just depends on the person, but nux vomica is just irritable. This one is my husband all over whenever he gets the flu. They are so irritable. They're sensitive to noise. They're sensitive to light. They're sensitive to odors. They're sensitive to you. They don't want you there. They want you to get out of there. They can't stand you. They just don't want you around. They have a fever with chills and shivering. They have a runny nose during the day. Usually they're real stopped up at night, but they'll run during the day. They have a sore throat with a real painful cough. Their limbs and their back ache. Sometimes they also have nausea and diarrhea. And not always, but that's usually a pretty, if you have that, it's very well covered by Nux vomica. They also feel chilly at the slightest movement or exposure to air. Almost like heat herself, but maybe even a little bit more so. They're wrapped, and if they feel the least little draft, I mean, even inside, they're in coats and sweaters and scarves. They cannot be exposed to the cold, because if they are, they'll get really upset, and they'll feel a lot worse. They'll feel a lot worse in the cold air, and they feel much better from warm. So someone like that is going to need Nux vomica if they're irritable and it's painful and it's sore and they're running and they have this fever and they're cold, and they're mad about it. That's when you need Nux. That's when you know you need Nux vomica. The next one is called phosphorus. Now, phosphorus is tricky because this one is the one where they're sick, but they often appear a lot better than they actually are. So, for example, a child with a very high fever, we're talking 103, 104, they could still be running around, playing around like nothing, and they're actually really sick. So, it could be concerning for some parents, and then some parents are like, I guess they'll tell me when they need me. If they have a cough, it's usually a really dry cough, and it can sound sort of short and tight. And usually they're very thirsty for ice-cold drinks. That's when you know that one is going to be the one that points you to phosphorus above all. They could have the cough, they could have the runny nose, they could have all the other typical symptoms of the flu. But usually if they're thirsty for ice cold, it doesn't have to have ice in it, but it's got to be cold. That's when you know you need phosphorus. Usually, though, if they have this ice-cold water, some of the parents will call me because they'll say, well, they're just vomiting after they drink this water. I don't understand. That's a sure symptom that you know you need phosphorus. And they also have a laryngitis. Their throat could be really sore without the laryngitis, but usually they'll have a laryngitis of some kind. And it could be painful, it could not be. It just depends on the person. But this is what phosphorus looks like. The almost last one is pulsatilla. Now, pulsatilla is one of my favorites because I think I'm usually pulsatilla. This last time, when I told you my story about the flu, I needed gelsemium. But when I get a cold, usually I'm pulsatilla because, well, you'll see why. Pulsatilla has a runny nose that has this thick, creamy, yellow discharge coming out. It could be green, but usually it's yellowish. They can be stuffed up at night and usually indoors, and they want to go outside. They're much better outside in the open air. And if they are out in the open air, they'll run. They won't be stopped up anymore. And they'll have a fever usually, and they're weepy. They want you there. They want your attention. They want your sympathy. They want you to hold them and cuddle with them and tell them everything's going to be okay. And that's me when I have a cold. I want you there. I want someone to tell me it's going to be okay. And I'm sad, and I want someone to be there. They also feel better outside and moving around. And so you'll know you need pulsatilla, or someone around you needs pulsatilla when they're weepy. Babies are usually clingy. They won't let you go. They want your attention. They have the fever with the runny nose, and if they're better outside, that's a sure hit for pulsatilla. And the last one is called Rus toxicodendron. Now, we call this Rus tox for short, but Rus is really interesting because they'll have these aches and pains when they're still. Usually it's much worse, these aches and these pains, whenever they first start to move, and they're much better with continued motion. So they got to keep moving. If they're actually still for too long, it'll actually bring on the pain. And so they really, really need to be moving. Usually they have a very dry, sore throat, and they're very restless as well because they can't be still for too long. They're also much better whenever you apply some kind of warmth or it could either be a wet warmth or a dry warmth to them. They need warmth in some way. And usually it doesn't have to happen this way, just like with gelsemium. But if they have if they're exposed to some kind of cold, damp weather, some kind of weather change like that, that's usually what brings on this for the people that need Rus tox. So if there's been something like that and they're really restless and their aches and their pains, everything that's going on over their body is worse when they're still, and they are better from warmth, you'll know you need Rus tox. So that's it. This brings us to the end of our remedies. And so these are going to be the ones that you're going to go to. You have the almost flu, the prevent the flu, and then all of these that you can use if you actually have the flu. So now I want to hear from you. Did you have the flu? Have you had the flu? What did you do to help yourself? How fast did you recover? Was it as bad, or was it much better than you thought it would go? What did you do to prevent the flu? Or have you been very successful in preventing the flu for you and your family? Let's all share our strategies, whatever we're doing to help each other, because someone in this boat needs to hear this right now. So many people are not sure what to do, and it would be really helpful to have other success stories so that other people can share and we can all learn together. So head on over to my Facebook page, facebook.com/ChristinaCantuND, and leave a comment right now. And while you are there, be sure to like and follow the page. You'll get some exclusive content, some special giveaways, and insider-only secrets I don't share anywhere else. Remember that building the life and health that you want happens one step at a time. Don't forget to stop and enjoy the journey. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time on Natural Talk TV.